She's good at tying stuff.
I'm not even wait.
How do are you tying, Emily? Hey guys, I know we're well into July, but let's talk about these 12 books I read in June. Okay, starting off with Scythe Sparrow. This is the third book to the Ruinous love trilogy. Another very fun book. I don't know why I didn't make the connection that the series was about the three brothers. The first book we have Sloane, the FMC, and Rowan, the MMC. Serial killers who fall in love. In Leather and Lark, we have Lark, who is Sloane's best friend. Then we have Lachlan. He's a contract killer and he's Rowan's brother. These two have an arranged marriage. Now the third book, the reason I did not expect this book to be about their third brother Fionn was because he is such a sweet guy. These two and the ladies are killers, but he lives in a small town, he's a doctor, so not a lot of serial and contract killing with him. So again, I never made the connection that each book would be about each brother. What's this book gonna be about then? Is there gonna be any killing or murders this time? So we do get a glimpse of him for the first time in the first book when Sloane and Rowan crashed over at his place. And when they were over at his place, there was a girl there. She was injured, she had a cast on, but you couldn't tell yet if they were a thing. It was basically a doctor-patient thing, but you could feel some vibes in this book with these two. Again, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so boring. In the first book, we have eye plucking, we had a slow burn in the second book, and then there's no serial killing in this book. But this was my favorite book out of all three. I never would have expected that. This is so stinking cute. We have murder, don't worry. But I felt the love most with Fionn and Rose. I mean, you can feel the cute romance with these two, but with this, I felt the strongest with their love. I don't want to give you up the story because if you read the first book and you're not here yet, it would be a spoiler if I tell you what happens here, because it'll ruin what happens in the first book. So yeah, the third book, even though this was the least murder, I think this was the least murder in the books, it was still my favorite because of the romance. I'm really loving the third book in so many series, as you'll see coming up. Never lie, it's been a while since I've read a thriller. The last one I read was years ago, The Housemaid, and I had no idea that it was the same author, but I love her writing. We start with these two newlyweds who have been looking to buy a house. While they're on their way to view a house that's in the middle of the forest, away from anyone, it starts snowing on their drive and they basically get caught in a snowstorm and they have to stay overnight at the house. When they get there, their real estate agent isn't there. Interesting. The light upstairs was on when they arrived though. There's no signal. Oh, and by the way, this house's last owner was murdered and that's why it's selling for so cheap. They end up having to stay over for a couple of days because of this snowstorm. And Trisha, the FMC, the wife, she is very curious about how Adrian, the last homeowner, died or was murdered, or did she run away? So she's snooping around the house. We're solving mysteries with her. You hit a point where you're like, oh my gosh, the murder can't be that obvious. But who else can it be, really? Like while I was reading it, I was like, the author has to be making it this obvious on purpose because she's gonna give us a plot twist. And yes, enter the plot twist. Yes, I had a jaw drop. This was such a fun book to read at night. It wasn't scary. If I was scared, I wouldn't be reading this at night. But I recommend reading this at night because it was really fun. I feel like I'm reading so many books that are so much more complicated now that jaw drop wasn't enough for me, but it was still good. Okay, next was Gideon the Ninth. It was a struggle, but I waited for this so long on Libby because my best friend kept telling me to read it. You're gonna like this book, there's lots of stabbing. So I'm reading the first chapter, wondering why my brain is struggling to process these words. It's in English, but I feel like I'm reading another language. There are terms and phrases I've never heard. At first I was like, are these lesbian terms? Is this Gen Z slang I'm not aware of? So I end up looking up the author who's from New Zealand and I was like, oh, maybe that's why, because maybe these are New Zealand terms. I want to say it takes me like at least 10 chapters to get into the flow of her writing, but for some reason there's absolutely nothing my brain is paying attention to. I swear I felt like a big chunk of this book was talking about furniture and interior design. There are so many points I'm like, is this going anywhere? We're stuck in this we're stuck in this home, and I'm like, nothing is going on. I'm here like, where's my stabbing? I read my husband the first chapter and he was even like, damn, how long is this chapter? What is she even saying? And I'm like, okay, thank you, it's not just me. So I'm just like, how does my best friend even like this? Actually, on second thought, this book changed my life. I have never read a more unique book, and I could read it 10 more times and still find new things to love.
Smile.
My wonderful friend who did not break into my apartment would like to give you a brief summary.
I don't know what you may have heard before. If you would like an accurate little summary, I do love this book. Have listened to it twice, which I don't know if it counts as reading it. So overall, you just have to be ready for kind of a wild ride. It is a mystery, but not in a way that I feel like the author didn't know what was happening. I always felt like she knew what was happening. I just didn't know what was happening. And I felt that way through the entire series. There's 3 books. I don't think Sasha's gonna read the other 2 unless I strong arm her, which I might, because I love them so much. The first one, as long as you can kind of, I should have warned her before she started to understand what necromancy is. But if you got that, I think you're gonna be okay. There's a lot of anatomy terms. I do love anatomy stuff, so I didn't even think about it as an issue. But there's a lot of like bones and ligaments and muscles, which I felt like really added to it, like the authenticity of it. Overall, it's the story of 2 girls. There's Gideon and Harrow, and Harrow is basically the daughter of the 2 people in charge of the planet they live on. There's 9 planets total, and then there's an overarching god who is the one who initially resurrected all of the 9 planets when they died. They are all the like firstborns of all the houses who are necromancers, are all going to this one planet, the first planet, to see if they can become, what are they called?
What?
Oh, they're all going to see if they can become lictors. I couldn't remember the word I told you earlier.
The one you kept telling me.
Yeah, yeah. They're all going to this first planet to see if they can become lictors, which is basically a really fancy version of the necromancer and like the right hand of God. And so they all end up at this main house, and there's representatives from all 9 planets, and it's not a competition book, but it's more like there's all these secret trials that they have to figure out, and then it culminates in leading them to figure out like, how do we become lictors. It's a great mystery. It is heartbreaking in a way that I really felt like, I feel like sometimes we can tell stories of relationships without it being all happy endings, even though I know lesbians never get happy endings, but it's at least one that I felt like was valid. If you like enemies to lovers, I don't know if this will count because they kind of stay enemies the whole time. You could argue that they're deeply in love, but there's not a whole lot of evidence of that, at least in the first book. So, do you want any more of a detailed summary other than like there's trials and...
If you feel like you're satisfied with
where it's at?
Your main gist of the book.
Yeah. I would say overall, it's okay to be confused and it's worth the ride because
okay.
I loved it. The second book is even more confusing. The third book is even more confusing. But
is that a... Yeah, it's more confusing. You should read it.
Yes, it's more confusing. Yes, because like I felt like one of the things I love is to be like, this is so wild. Like none of it, I've never read another book like it. I'm confused the whole time, but then once you start to figure out things, I feel like I felt very fulfilled that I figured it out. And that's my little summary. Don't let whatever she said before fool you, because she didn't mean it. She didn't know what she was talking about.
Do you know what I'm confused about?
What are you confused about?
I brought about is how much you were talking about stabbing, and that's what you turned me on to read the book. So where was this stabbing, ma'am? You
don't think there's all the stabbing?
At the end?
No, I mean the whole time.
Stabs pins into her cheeks so that she can write with her own blood. She oh, but you want a knife? What if it's like a knife made out of a bone? What doesn't seem to be a bone though? You don't need a bone to cut the knife?
I know you want That's what I should have used to kidnap you.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because you know the stabbing I like. I thought it was really gonna be brutal, bloody, like...
Well, it was brutal, bloody the whole time. You don't think there was blood? There constantly was blood.
I was waiting...
And like oozing, bubbling fat. Don't let this turn you off of the book. It's... Moira Quirk is the narrator, and she's amazing. She has different voices for every single person. You can always tell who's talking.
I think
she has an accent. Apparently that matters.
For like the epic ending battle, for all the stabbing. So when it happened with the bones, like I think that's why, because it was happening with bones versus.
Okay. Okay.
What about little okay, maybe spoiler, maybe black box over my mouth. What about the 2 little teens?
Is this
There's
like
no
our
winning.
first fight?
Is this our first fight?
We've been friends for how long? I was
like 10 plus years.
We haven't like had our first fight yet.
Damn.
it's the more I learned about Aries. Because they always say that. They always like...
I thought Scorpios were supposed to be the scary ones, because they're the ones that like will never forgive you.
Well, yes, that. But it was more like as soon as you like fight with an Aries, it's kind of, it's not the forgiving part, it's like you're just cut off. So I'm like, well, fuck, like I can't say anything to Emily.
No, you can tell me. It's okay that you didn't like the book. At least it wasn't like I'm in love with Fourth Wing. If I loved Fourth Wing and then you read
I would have told you.
You would have been like Emily.
Yeah.
Raise your
I'd
standards.
Be like, yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
Like I said, since we've agreed on everything.
Yeah.
And I can kind of feel the style of writing we like. I think since that was such a complete 180 of writing style, I was like...
I think that's why it took over my brain, because I was like, I've never read or listened to anything like this.
Okay.
Like, I don't have anything story-wise to compare it to.
Okay.
I don't have anything writing-wise to compare it to.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is a totally new... And it just, like, took over my brain.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't stop thinking about it, because it's like... There's too much to think about, and I don't have anything to compare it to. Versus, like, I read Fourth Wing, and I'm like, this just is a less good version of Akhtar and Throne of Glass.
Do you feel satisfied with your...
I feel satisfied.
And that is Emily, everyone. Amid Cloud and Bones. Tell me why I didn't expect this book to be about Faye again. From the cover art alone, I was like, that's so stinking cute. I thought it was going to be a real life romance. Had no idea there was going to be fairies in this again. Not even halfway through the first chapter, we're talking about another fairy war. Every single Fae book involves some kind of fairy war. This is basically The Cruel Prince plus Akomath plus Kiss of the Basilisk. So the first part is like a grown-up version of The Cruel Prince. I really didn't like The Cruel Prince. If you also didn't like The Cruel Prince, or if you wish The Cruel Prince had spice, then this would be more for you. This is another rare actual enemies to lovers. Cruel Prince is supposedly enemies to lovers, but is it really if the high school bully had a crush on her? I don't think so. So the MMC in this book, Prince Attican, he made me mad. He was an actual bully. He was an actual cruel prince. I wish she just stabbed him. So him and Princess Mildred, the FMC, were forced into an arranged marriage. Even though Princess Mildred is half Fae, she is still treated as less than. She is still beneath all the Fae. Definitely beneath him, not worth his time. So I'm starting to get annoyed because there's no way she's starting to like this dude. Girl, how stupid can you be? But some people enjoy toxic relationships like that. I kept telling myself, don't worry, we're gonna have some dark-haired, strong man save her. And that's when it becomes Akomath, because she's basically winnowed to a dark-haired man's bedroom, away from the crazy blonde guy, away from Tamlin. She got away from Tamlin and fell right into Rysand's lap. Now it's reminding me of the Kiss of the Basilisk, because the FMC is stuck between the mean blonde-haired boy or the sweet, mature, dark-haired man. The main thing I enjoyed though was there's so many books similar to this and they all kind of end the same, and this one ended slightly different, so I liked that. So if you want a one and done fairy book, you want some spice, you want enemies to lovers, then try this book out. I'm throwing it into my palette cleanser book category, where if you just finished reading an intense series and you want a chill book that won't stress you out, then there you go. Not a book I would reread, nothing spectacular, but I do really want it because of that cover. It's so freaking cute. Next we have Nocticadia. Captured me instantly. The only book I purchased this month, and again, I only buy physical books that I love. There's another physical book I wanted to buy this month, but it's part of a series, so I might buy it when the full series is out, but as of right now, this is the only physical book I bought this month. This was one of those, one more chapter, just one more chapter. Oh, it's 2 a.m.? Okay, I swear, this will be the last chapter. The setting is very gothic, dark. I felt like there was some kind of misty, smoky filter in my vision while I was reading this. I'm probably gonna reread this during Halloween. So we have our FMC, Lilia. We started with her mother having a very strange, mysterious death. Her mother basically goes rabid before she dies, and she has these long black worms coming out of her, crawling towards the drain. Lilia is basically like, what the F did I just see? She thinks if she tells anyone that she saw black worms coming out of her mother, they'd all think she's crazy. So fast forward, she was invited to attend Nocticadia University because she has written a paper about these worms, a case study of this fictional disease. Obviously, it's a real disease, and the people at the university are like, how does this girl know about these worms? Let's bring her over. She gets to Trilogy University. Enter Professor Bramwell. He's actually been researching these black worms. Yes, he's hot, black hair, copper eyes, morally gray man. Lilia is desperate to know more about what killed her mother, and she basically wants to be his assistant to learn more. He doesn't do assistants, he's very closed off. For my spicy folks, yes, it's professor and student. Yes, it's hot, but I feel like that was just a bonus to this book. While I'm reading this, I'm like, damn, this author really knows how to grab your attention. I was pretty much satisfied with everything. So yeah, I was like, I really like this author. I look her up and I'm like, oh, that's why. She's the author of Master of Salt and Bones. I said the same thing about that book. I was intrigued the whole time, never got bored. Master of Salt and Bones, it's different. If you want a one and done book, go ahead. I don't think there was a point in the book where I got bored, which I enjoyed. Because even with so many of like my favorites or really intense book, they always still have like some kind of boring chapters in it. But I feel like with this, I don't think there's a chapter where I was really bored. Master of Salt and Bones was good. Nocticadia is so much better. Even though Master of Salt and Bones was like S&M-y, I still like the spice more in Nocticadia. Next I go into House of Crimson Hearts. I told my best friend, I am not satisfied with the lesbian aspect in Gideon the Ninth. So my best friend told me she's planning on reading House of Crimson Hearts. I was like, okay, I can do that. I am thrown into the vampire world for the first time since Twilight. The FMC vampire Octavia instantly gave me Diana vibes from Book of Azrael, and I love her. But Octavia's like a watered down version of her. I feel like this book was trying so hard to make this an enemies to lovers, but it's not. Octavia has nothing against Red. She's the other FMC. She's a hunter. Of course, the vampire hunter who's basically after Octavia. We start with a spice scene very fast, and when it's that early for the characters to have a spice scene, I tend not to feel anything afterwards for them because it wasn't a slow burn. It's how I felt with Quicksilver, Insatiable, and out of all the books I've read so far, this hands down has the most spice scenes. They do it like a good 10 times. So this book is going into my smut category where it's like 80% spice and 20% plot. This was too much lesbian spice, and Gideon the Ninth was a forehead kiss. I need somewhere in between. Anyways, the main summary, if you take out the spice, is basically two extremely stubborn women. One not afraid to show her love to the other, and the other wanting to hate her so bad, but she can't. It's a constant battle of, I hate you. No, I love you. I hate you. So yeah, at a point it gets really frustrating. Like, I'm like, girls, can you figure that out? So that's going on with those ladies. Next we have Cordelia. She is Ophelia's mom. She is the oldest vampire. She's the most powerful. She wants to retire. She's tired of the game and the politics. So we have these trials to determine who's going to be the city's next heir. She has, I want to say 6 kids, and these kids are pairing with hunters. But I actually want to talk about what I like about the book. So we actually have Cordelia, again, Ophelia's mom. We have her point of view in this book too, but from 1,000 years ago when she was just a girl. Her story, this story right here, that's what I want to read. That's the lesbian romance book I want to read. I'm so much more invested in her love story. I'm sure her full love story will be told in these 3 books. But yeah, I want a book just for Cordelia. Her story felt like a love story. I feel like Ophelia and Red's love story has so much lust in it, obviously, hence all they keep thinking is banging each other. But her mom's love story is super cute. Next we have Unravel Me. Oh my gosh, I forgot how dramatic this girl is, Juliet. Just a recap from the first book, Shatter Me. Dystopian world, Juliet cannot physically touch anyone. She will kill someone if she touches them for too long. Just like the first book, it feels more like I'm reading her diary entries versus a book. And you know what? It sounds very much like my teenage diary entries. Very dramatic. The world is out to get me. My life sucks. My parents hate me. I want to run away. But I can't judge this poor girl because she has very good reason to be dramatic. Imagine not being able to physically touch the person you love. So in this book, now that she realizes she can't touch the boy she loves, Adam, her mind instantly goes to the blonde boy villain, Warner. And she's like, maybe I should get with him instead. If that is a book you're into where you have a stable, dark-haired man, but you're like nah, I'd rather go get with the messed up blonde boy, or at least experiment with him, then I recommend these books. That would be a spoiler for this book, so I can't show you. So basically, if you wanted Farah to go get with Tamlin instead of Rysand. That was the second book. Basically, Juliet being stuck between two boys and a revolution brewing. The book ends with a battle between the resistance group, the good guys obviously, and the reestablishment, the bad guys. Slightly better than the first book. I figured it would be. I wish I read this series as a teenager. I would have loved it so much more. I would have connected with Juliet and I would have related to all her drama. And the writing is very simple. So next is Ignite Me. The battle didn't go well. It's hard talking about a series because when I talk about the second and third and fourth books, I'm basically giving you a clue on what happened in the books before them. So again, I try to be as vague as possible. So that's all I'm gonna say. The battle didn't end well in the second book, and in this third book, everyone's basically just recovering, getting back into shape. Juliet's love interest has switched. Adam, the dark-haired one, is actually now the Tamlin of the book. Honestly, I wish she would just get with Kenji, her best friend. He's basically her Lucian. I haven't read the fourth book yet, so I don't know how intense it is, but since the third book is really short and super slow, it could have easily been combined with the second book. Okay, next we have The Conditions of Will. We have the FMC Georgia. She's basically been disowned by her family in South Carolina, and she's been shipped off to the UK for reasons I cannot say. The book starts off with her dad passing, and she has to fly back into South Carolina for his funeral, but she has the most toxic Southern conservative family ever. So this book is based on all this toxic family drama and what goes down while the whole family is back in South Carolina for dad's funeral. Her gay brother Oliver, he's sober and he brought his hot Australian sponsor with him. Georgia's basically like, damn Oliver, your boyfriend is fine. There's a tiny crossover in the Magnolia Parks world, just a tiny. You do not need to read Magnolia Parks at all. There's a part where I was like, oh, this dude sounds just like this guy in Magnolia Parks. They're not the same guys, but they know each other. And speaking of Magnolia Parks, at the beginning while I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, why does this girl sound exactly like Magnolia? And then I find out it's the same author. I really want to distance the author from the book, but I can't because she's making this sound so much like Magnolia. Magnolia was all about fashion. She described every bit of clothing she was wearing or what someone else was wearing. She was in the fashion industry. So it was weird hearing how similar Georgia talked about fashion like Magnolia. I'm not saying a girl from a small town in the South can't know about fashion, but I'm just saying she sounded too much like a fashion expert from London. So yeah, it was just hard for me to disconnect this book from Magnolia Parks. It felt more like I was listening to the author tell me a story versus being in the story and experiencing it. Okay, now, last but certainly not least, we have the House of Devils series. This is an urban fantasy series. This was the closest vibe I've gotten to the Book of Azrael that I love. I haven't found any book similar to that because that's also an urban fantasy, but they're still extremely different from each other. Just like in the Book of Azrael, in this world we have vampires, witches, warlocks, werewolves, devils. I know there's more creatures, and we have humans. So in the first book, City of Gods and Monsters, we have the FMC Lauren. She's human. She's basically at the bottom of the food chain. She is not special in this world. So when we discover that there are multiple groups out to kidnap her for a lot of money, that's when it gets interesting. I was like, oh, so like John Wick, where there's a bounty and everyone's just out to get him. First person to get to her, gun to her head, will be Darian, the MMC. He is the leader of the Seven Devils. There are multiple groups in this world. I wish I had the book to read them out to you. He's the leader of the Seven Devils, the most feared in the city. He decides to help her out instead. So basically the entire book is, number one, Darian trying to keep Lauren hidden so no one else can get to her. Two, find out who wants her and why they're willing to pay so much for a human girl. literally the entire book is a wild goose chase just trying to find out who wants her. It reminded me so much of crime TV shows where every episode they're trying to find the killer. This is another book in my I couldn't put it down. There was a point where I was very close to being frustrated with this book because it just took so long for them to get any clues or to solve any mysteries. Now with the spice, I think the spice was well spaced out. For example, Everflame was too long of a wait and House of Crimson Hearts was way too fast. Because when we get to that first spicy scene, whew, I do feel like the wait to the actual spice felt way too long, but it was worth it. I really liked the book, but it did stress me out enough to where I don't want to buy the physical copy. Let's take, for example, with TV shows. Shameless, The Bear, I love those series, but they're so stressful. They're not something I wanna rewatch compared to like Friends, How I Met Your Mother, New Girl. I can keep rewatching those shows over and over. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna buy the physical book. So we have the second book, City of Souls and Sinners. Now, City of Gods and Monsters was child's play with the stress. After reading the second one, I was like, yeah, that first book was not stressful. This is. But it's just like so many other second books. It's like I have no memory of them. I don't know why. Prison Healer, Insatiable, Everflame, Butcher and Blackbird. I really enjoyed the first books. Second books, I have no idea. I barely remember anything about the second books. But the third books, these are all the ones I love. The third books apparently have always been my favorite. Maybe it just takes me that long to get really drawn into the world. So yeah, second book, all I can remember, Lauren's in a coma. That's all I remember. So yeah, since I can't remember what's in the second book, let's talk about Darien. I want to talk about Darien the MMC. So I'm not a fan of the MMCs who go soft, top of my head. Quicksilver, Everflame. It's kind of like these guys lost their edge. They're these strong, tough fighters and killers, but then after falling in love, they kind of lose their edge. It's amazing though when FMCs can break these men's shells. The men start becoming more vulnerable, they start wearing their hearts on their sleeves more, but they can still be their usual badass selves. And that is what I love about Darien. Even though she broke him down, he now has a will to live. He's a man madly in love, but he still hasn't lost his edge. He's still brutal, he's still a fighter. I'm just saying I like him. He's consistent. Seriously, the only thing I can remember at the top of my head is that Lauren's in a coma in the second one. But that obviously really affects the third book. City of Lies and Legends, again, this is my favorite. I freaking loved this one. I feel so much more connected and attached to the characters now. And see, this book, this is how you do different POVs. I hate it when books go from 2 POVs to 7. First book we have the 2 main characters. Next book, I think she throws in Max's point of view, Darien's best friend. Maybe one more. And the third book, I wanna say we have like 6 or 7 different point of views. 2 Twisted Crowns should have taken notes from this book. This is how you switch point of views. The author doesn't just throw you back and forth in the middle of intense scenes. So with the third book, basically everyone's been separated. We're also introduced to new characters. Yet I actually want to know what everyone's doing. I want to see everyone's POV. Usually I only care about the 2 main characters. But yeah, this is a rare book where I love almost everyone. So Darien's always gonna be with Lauren. We have that point of view in this book. We now have Roman. He is Darien's cousin. Even though they are brand new characters, I was instantly hooked with him and Shayla's story. We have Max and Dallas's point of view. They're trying to find someone. It might be a spoiler to say who they're trying to find, so I can't tell you that. I know Lace and Travis, they're still in Angel theme. Oh, and like I said, Lauren's in a coma. So we have her point of view to wherever she's drifted off to into her mind. I think we also get Malachi's point of view. But my point is, there are so many point of views, but the author knows how to switch them up. For example, let's say Darien's about to get murdered. She does not abruptly end the chapter and then throw you into Roman and Shayla going on a hike. When there's an intense scene playing out, the author will follow through, and then she will switch point of views. Oh, I hated that so much in Two Twisted Crowns. It was such a mood killer when she kept switching the point of views back and forth, back and forth. Anyways, the spice in the third book, that was my favorite. That is how you do a slow burn. I'm not giving you much with this series, huh? But I think it's just because there's so much going on. Usually I can tell you more about the book when there's a more simpler plot, but I feel like if I start talking about this book, I have to connect it to all the other plots. And I feel like there's so much going on, I can't just talk about one simple thing. But at the same time, I'd rather you read it and enjoy it yourself. I'm sorry if I'm giving you the least amount of info with this series, but I'm really enjoying it. Again, especially the third book. Also, I don't know how the author does it, but there's like 20 plus, there's probably more like 30 characters in this book. And I know who each one is. The Six Devils, you will quickly learn who each one is. Then we have Lauren and her two besties. Then they throw in some enemies. Then they throw in characters from other circles. Vampires, werewolves. I think the second book is when she throws in the angels. Oh, and the familiars. They're basically spirit animals. Everyone has a spirit animal. So again, you also learn every single person's spirit animal. There are so many characters, but somehow the author makes them memorable or distinguishable enough where I know who each one is. I feel like the average in a book, I want to say there's maybe a good 6 to 10 characters, and I can never remember who's who. I always have to write down the characters, put a description next to them in my notes. Not with this series for some reason. The main thing I didn't like about the books though, I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you haven't read these books and you want to and you don't want any sort of clue, then fast forward to the next timestamp. So I guess a tiny spoiler or clue. Like I said, the only main thing I didn't like about the series is that every single book ends with Lauren saving her friends and the entire city. She's practically portrayed as a useless human being, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, she's the one who saves everyone's ass. So yeah, I'm just not a fan that we keep on ending with the same thing. I don't like it when a series feels like one big long story. I would like each book to somewhat differentiate from each other and stand out on their own. And again, that's probably why I really like the third one. Overall, this is a fun series, but it's a little stressful. But now after reading them, they're way less stressful than while I was reading them and not knowing what was going on. I'm gonna have to buy these books now, huh? With how much I love the third one. I mean, I can't just buy the third book. Anyways, we'll see. It's only been 6 months and my new bookcase is practically full. I need to stop falling in love with books. So yeah, those were all the books I read in June, and now let's rate them. First one, Nocticadia, of course. It was fun, it was mysterious. You have your spice. I was just very thoroughly satisfied with everything in this book. Second favorite, City of Lies and Legends. But again, because I love that book so much, I would have ended up having 2 physical books this month. But since it's in a series, I didn't end up buying it because I want to wait till the 4th one comes out. Third book was actually Scythe Sparrow. It was so cute. It was fun. That series is really just fun. I was gonna say fun murder books, but I mean, it's very light. It's comedy, like it's very just light and playful. So number 4 would be City of Gods and Monsters. Number 5, Amid Clouds and Bones. Number 6 is City of Souls and Sinners. Number 7, Never Lie. Number 8, The Will of Many. Number 9, Unravel Me. Number 10, Ignite Me. Number 11, House of Crimson Hearts. And number 12, Gideon the Ninth. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next month.